Hey, Todd Halleck here. Thought I'd talk to you a little bit today about guardianships and conservatorships for our minor or disabled children. When we engage in estate planning, we're trying to accomplish a lot of things. We're trying to deal with the transition of our assets upon our death. We're dealing with the management of our assets if we become incapacitated. We're letting our wishes be made known as it relates to healthcare decisions, including end-of-life decisions. We're letting our wishes be made known about whether we want to be buried or cremated and where we would want to be buried or where we would want our ashes disposed of. But one of the most important things we do is plan for the care of those we're responsible for. And for many of us, that could be a minor child. For others, it could be a disabled child as well that's reached adulthood. Here's 6 things that I think you should think about when choosing a guardian for that minor child. Now, I need to distinguish something here because different states have different terminologies for this. In the states that I particularly work in, Utah, Arizona, Idaho, guardian is the person who's responsible for the physical needs of an individual. So in the case of a minor, it'd be the person who's bringing them into their home, as opposed to the conservator, who would be responsible for their financial assets. So right now, let's talk about a guardian in this video, and in a future video, we'll take up the question of who might be a good conservator. So a few things to think about. One, look beyond the obvious. Sometimes we kind of get into just immediate decisions of saying, oh, it'll be my parents, or it'll be my brother or my sister. Sometimes there's other less obvious choices that might be much better than those individuals. So I really encourage my clients to sit down and create a list of anybody who might possibly be a good guardian for my children, regardless of my familial relationship with them. The second thing, don't eliminate good candidates just because of financial issues. There may be people out there who would be wonderful guardians for your children, but you worry that they lack the financial means to do so. That can be planned around. If they're the best fit, then let's plan to get them some financial resources. Let's make sure the executor of your estate is willing to provide some financial resources. Let's make sure there's some life insurance in place and some direction on how to use it. So if they need to expand their house, or they need to move to a bigger house, or whatever different issues that may come up around finances, they'll have the finances to do it. So don't just eliminate someone because they lack financial resources. That absolutely can be planned around. Maybe this should be number 1, right? Will they love your children? Certainly they're probably not going to love your children like you do, but you want to know they're going to be loved and watched after by those folks that you appoint as if they were their own children. And so certainly take a look at that as you're making your list. Do they share your values, right? We all come to the table with religious values, financial values, educational values, all sorts of different values that we have, and we like to and try to impart those values to our children. You're never going to get an exact match. But do these people, will they approximate how you would have liked to have seen your children raised if you were the one that was there still doing it? So think about their values as you're creating your list. How would it fit in their lifestyle? Sometimes, especially if we're naming mom and dad as the guardian, they've reached a point where they don't have kids. Maybe they're traveling. Maybe they're nomads and driving around in an RV for several years like my parents did. That might not be a good fit, even though they might check other boxes. Having kids may no longer fit their lifestyle. So think about that as you're doing it. And 6th, last but not least, losing a parent is going to be a massive disruption by definition, or losing both parents certainly is a massive disruption by definition. we want to minimize that, right? Is it best to uproot the child and move them to a whole new city away from their other support systems? Or would it be better to choose someone who maybe is closer in location to where you live, where you reside presently, so that the disruption can be minimized? So there's 6 things to think about as you're deciding who to name as your guardian for your minor children or your disabled children. I hope that's helpful to you. Next time we'll talk about the conservator and what considerations should go into choosing that person.